The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions for the first time, and nearly 500,000 people filled downtown Oklahoma City for what was a massive celebration. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. visited Oklahoma this week to make the state healthy again in conjunction with Governor Kevin Stitt. And an important story from Oklahoma Watch about civil asset forfeiture. All coming up next on Oklahoma Memo this week, right here on YouTube. Hi, my name is Ryan Welton, and my newsletter, Oklahoma Memo, keeps Oklahomans informed each and every day, fast and free. Go to oklahomamemo.com and sign up. That email will then hit your inbox at 7 a.m. The mission here is to reignite a daily news habit and to make it painless, low stress, high information. You should walk away from the daily newsletter and or even this video and be conversant on just about everything happening in Oklahoma. If you enjoyed this newscast, and it's only my first, they'll get better, please consider subscribing here on YouTube or wherever you find this. Topping the news this week in Oklahoma, the Thunder are champions of the NBA after a thrilling 103-91 win over Indiana in Game 7 Sunday night. Led by Finals MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Thunder pulled away in the third quarter and staved off the feisty Pacers in the fourth for the win. For Oklahoma City, the win was both a celebration and a relief. A case could absolutely be made that the series should have only gone 5 games, given that Indiana won Game 1 on a last-second shot. It was their first and only lead of that entire game. Nevertheless, the Thunder are champs, so it's all good. The parade was a delight to watch, even though I did so only from a TV screen. Don't judge. We had just returned from a long vacation, and we're super sleep deprived and in need of unpacking. But 500,000 of our closest friends attended the celebration, as Ileana Berryhill from Oklahoma Voice reports. From the Oklahoma Voice, Maverick Stevenson of Norman sat toward the back of the crowd, waiting for the parade to begin. Stevenson, who was covered from the waist up in the Thunder's trademark blue and orange body paint, said he's been a long-time Thunder fan. Quote, "I'm really happy," he said. "I've been a fan for a long time. I was a fan when we were losing a bunch of games, and it feels really good to see your team win." Another feel-good but very sentimental moment happened when Thunder photographer Jimmy Doe snapped a photo of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the entire team celebrating with the Oklahoma City National Memorial ahead of them. Given the city's history and what happened in 1995 and the resiliency of the community in this state, no photo you'll see maybe ever again in the history of this Thunder franchise will move us quite like this one did. On Thursday, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joined Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt for a press conference to discuss a new campaign aimed at improving the state's health outcomes. It's called Make Oklahoma Healthy Again. In a post shared by the advocacy group Oklahomans for Health and Parental Rights, Stitt said the campaign will emphasize, quote, "common sense health policies, medical freedom, and a return to personal responsibility." However, most of what we heard about was keeping chips and soda away from poor people and removing fluoride from public drinking water. Oklahoma ranks 46th in public health and 48th in healthcare, according to U.S. News & World Report. Keaton Ross and Haley Parsley from Oklahoma Watch filed a story this week called "Oklahoma Police Continue to Seize Millions from Motorists." You can read it at oklahomawatch.org. It's about the continued and problematic practice of taking money and property away from motorists suspected of crimes and then not ever returning it once they're cleared. The practice is called civil asset forfeiture, and there is actually bipartisan support to consider eliminating it. Prosecutors maintain that the practice is needed to stop the flow of drug money and weapons in Oklahoma. But that just doesn't explain not returning the money and property to people once they're exonerated. Oklahoma Watch also had the big story on Friday, detailing that lawmakers are perplexed by President Trump's recent decisions to deny disaster mitigation grants after severe weather and wildfires in the state. These mitigation grants are designed to help the state prevent future disasters the best they can. From Oklahoma Watch, since March, states like Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa, and Mississippi suffered severe storms, winds, or wildfires and requested assistance through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program at FEMA, which provides funds to help protect against future natural disasters. Unlike the Biden administration, Trump is no longer automatically approving those grants and has denied 7 requests this spring, according to Bloomberg, while 6 requests remain under review. Oklahoma made one such funding request after March wildfires and winds ravaged the state, killing several people and damaging hundreds of homes, according to the Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management. Those fires burned Governor Kevin Stitt's farmhouse to the ground. FEMA approved several fire management assistance grants in Oklahoma, which help state, local, and tribal governments cover fire-related damage costs. But it denied a request for mitigation funding in early June. Quote, "Well, I'm usually on the side of my state, so we'll wait and see what happens," Representative Tom Cole of Oklahoma said of the funding denial. Oklahoma Senator James Langford said he'd just have to see the requests in order to answer any questions about them. But while disaster aid is often necessary, he said, it's not that simple. Nothing ever is. Now for a quick peek at weather. Next week, it shows storm chances Monday through Wednesday with highs in the upper 80s early in the week to low 90s later in the week, expected to be steamy. A quick but early look at July 4th shows us as rain-free but hot. Get out there and enjoy fireworks. Celebrate our country's freedom. It's not going to be unseasonably hot, and you can never rule out a popcorn storm in the summer. Back to news. Now let's go around the state with the Oklahoma Rundown. Oklahoma Voice had the story of Bartlesville Republican Julie Daniels, who asked AG Gentner Drummond for, quote, a legal opinion about whether drag shows violate a recently enacted law on state law on obscenity. From KGOU, the Oklahoma City Council approved a $500,000 grant from the EPA to remediate properties with environmental contaminants like asbestos or mold. The project will last for 4 years. And from Oklahoma City Free Press, the city of Oklahoma City will overhaul its citywide regulations governing zoning, building codes, public health, and more for the first time in 4 decades. The Frontier reported this week that while some warn of groundwater depletion in Oklahoma, efforts to tighten monitoring have failed again. Kayla Branch wrote that, quote, efforts to more accurately track commercial groundwater use in Oklahoma failed again this year at the legislature after facing tight deadlines and some pushback from agricultural interests. State law requires operators of commercial groundwater wells used for things like agriculture or oil and gas production to send in reports of their groundwater usage. But many users report that they draw exactly how much water their permit allows, or they don't send in reports at all, Oklahoma Water Resources Board Director Julie Cunningham told lawmakers last year. In Tulsa, a man killed during a shooting during Juneteenth celebrations last week has been identified. Isaiah Knight was just 22 years old. In response to the city's recent gun violence, Tulsa Mayor Monroe Nichols has announced a plan to curb that violence, including a downtown curfew for teens. Beloved Tulsa actor and comedian Gaylord Sartain, a very recognizable name to those of us familiar with things like Mazeppa and Hee Haw, has died at 81. The Muskogee Nation and the city of Tulsa signed a law enforcement jurisdiction agreement this week, according to KJRH. From their website, all of Tulsa County is tribal land, split between the MCN, the Cherokee Nation, and a small portion of Osage Nation. Mayor Nichols said he plans to work with other tribal partners to reach similar agreements. Emma Murphy from Oklahoma Voice reports this week that the Oklahoma Supreme Court heard a challenge to the, quote, open primary initiative petition, with justices questioning the timing of the GOP's challenge. On Friday, we posted the story from KJRH about Nex Benedict, whose mother sued the Owasso Public School District this week for wrongful death and discrimination. From the report, the 18-page lawsuit filed in federal court claims Nex taking their life was a direct result of gross failures and deliberate indifference of the district and its staff. Jillian Taylor of State Impact Oklahoma and Ari Fife of the Frontier teamed up on a story about Oklahoma Life Foundation and its executive director, Paul Abner. The headline is, this group is in charge of millions in state money to help pregnant women after Oklahoma banned abortion. If you're interested in how the state purports to help young mothers in the face of that ban, it's this. KGOU filed a story late this week, about the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that, quote, states may block Planned Parenthood from receiving Medicaid funding for non-abortion services, end quote, from the report. In a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court upheld South Carolina's ban on Medicaid funding going to Planned Parenthood for health services like contraception and cancer screenings, opening the door for other states to do the same. While the decision does not directly impact Oklahoma, State House Democratic leader and gubernatorial candidate Cindy Munson says that may change next legislative session. And from KXII, 3 Ada teens saved a 4-year-old girl from drowning. News 12's Talia Munson spoke with Carter Velasco, Braden McGilvray, and Jalen Shear. Now to sports. While the Thunder won the 2025 NBA title, ESPN is already looking ahead to 2026 in its power rankings. And no surprise, the Oklahoma City Thunder topped that list, followed by Minnesota, Denver, Cleveland, Houston, and then Indiana. Note, however, that the Pacers' Tyrese Halliburton will miss all of next season after tearing his Achilles in Game 7. The Thunder got a couple of picks in Thursday night's NBA draft, selecting Thomas Sorber, a big man from Georgetown, in the first round, and then Northwestern's Brooks Bornheiser in the second. I watched a little bit of video on Sorber, and holy smokes, Sam Presti might have struck again. It's not likely that he'll play much next year, but if he develops quickly, adding him to the middle with Chet and Isaiah could be just what the Thunder need for future playoff tilts versus Denver with Jokic and Minnesota with Rudy Gobert. Oklahoma's Jeremiah Fears was taken 7th by the New Orleans Pelicans, and he has chosen number 0, which means his jersey will basically say he has no fear. Fears 0. Loved watching Jeremiah play for Porter Moser at OU. Thunder fans got to meet Alex Caruso this week during his shift at Canes, and former Oklahoma Sooners baseball coach Sonny Galloway is now coaching high school ball in Plainview. The Oklahoma City Comets went 3-1 for the week pending Friday night, and the Tulsa Drillers went 1-3. The Texas League is starting its second half of play after the Drillers finished last in the first half. The Oklahoma City Comets, though, they finished first. Both teams are affiliates of the first-place Los Angeles Dodgers. And finally this week, FC Tulsa had no matches this week, but they take on Chattanooga Red Wolves SC on Saturday night. The club is tied for third in the West behind El Paso Locomotive FC and New Mexico United. The USL Super Underrated League, give them a watch. And that is all for the first edition of Oklahoma Memo this week. Oklahoma Memo is a newsletter, it is social video, and now it's a YouTube channel, all geared to help you stay informed faster with less stress. And you are the most important part of this equation. Your subscription, your follows, and your lives drive the entire effort. And if you're a business that has a story that this audience needs to hear, that's what I do. Reach out to me. I spent 2 decades in local TV news. Storytelling is an opportunity for every brand, business, and entrepreneur. I hope your week ahead, wherever you are in Oklahoma or beyond, is a great one. Go see some awesome fireworks this week and celebrate all that we have here in these United States. For Oklahoma Memo, I'm Ryan Welton, and we'll do this again next week, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.